Skarloey Railway Winter Tales, based on the Railway series by the Reverend W. Audrey, written and narrated by Geeba Machine. Dear friends, the Skarloey Railway has been up to their knees in snow lately, not to mention trouble. When I went to visit them, it seemed to be one thing after another, from being bombarded with snowballs to having a lot of snowstorms. But aside from that, the scenery is very lovely. You should see it sometime. By the way, if you ever go there during the winter season, don't ask Ivo Hugh if he likes to skate. The author. Duncan's morning run. Winter had come early to the Island of Sodor and had caught everybody unawares. Most of the little engines on the Skarloey Railway had to stay in the shed. Because of the cold weather, only the diesels, Rusty and Fred, had to do the morning runs while the steam engines were being warmed up. Duncan found this annoying. "I cannot stand this," he snorted one morning. "Why can't the thing controller just let us do our work and the diesels stick to what they do, gathering our trucks and coaches?" "You forget, Duncan," Skarloey corrected. "Their job is to clear the line as well. Also, they can start up faster than any of us." "And they can break down faster than any of us," Duncan huffed as the firelighter came to get the engines ready. Day in and day out, Duncan begged the thing controller to do the morning runs, but the thing controller always had the same answer. "They can start up faster than you, and they clear the lines so that you can do your work properly." But Duncan paid no attention. All he wanted to do was to get out and be on time for once. Early one morning, as the workmen were busily getting the diesels ready, Duncan was wide awake and watching the workmen turn Rusty's handle, getting him ready to take the supply train. Suddenly, he got an idea. "Rusty," he asked, "where are you going?" "I'm taking supplies to Glenlock, and then to Lakeside," replied Rusty. "Oh, is that it? Well, I just remembered that yesterday the thing controller was talking about how you need to take the day off because of all the hard work you've been doing lately." Rusty was slightly puzzled and concerned. "But what about my morning runs?" "I brought that matter to his attention," continued Duncan, "and then he asked me if I could do it. So, naturally, I said, yes, I could do it." Of course, this wasn't true, and Rusty should have known it. But he conceded, and a firelighter got Duncan ready. By the time the driver and fireman arrived for work, Duncan was sizzling with excitement. "Goodness, Duncan," remarked the driver, "I never see you this eager for work." "No time to talk, we've got work to do," said Duncan, as his crew entered the cab and got everything ready. Come on! Duncan snorted eagerly. Finally, Duncan rattled to life and steamed out of the yards. He collected the trucks and was soon on his way to Glenlock. But along the way, Duncan found the journey very difficult. Last night, a snowstorm had blown through, and the line hadn't been cleared yet. There wasn't much snow, but it was enough to slow the train down. Duncan began to wonder if that lie he made was really worth it. Soon, he arrived at Glenlock, and the workmen were waiting on the platform, getting ready to unload the supplies. After they were done, Duncan chuffed wearily out of the station and on to Lakeside. The driver was beginning to feel concerned. He noticed that Duncan's bunker was practically empty. "I think we should have taken some coal before we left, Clyde," said the driver. "I think so too," replied the fireman, "but it's too late now, Jim. Let's just hope it will at least get us to Skarloey. There's a coal bin there." But they never made it. A little after they left Lakeside, Duncan began to feel his boiler cool. Then he came to a complete stop. "What happened?" he cried. "What's going on?" "It seems that the last bit of coal has been spent," said the driver. So he and the fireman left Duncan and went to Skarloey Station. They returned with bad news. "The station's closed for the day," said the driver. "Plus they run out of coal." So they went back to Lakeside to telephone for help. But when the thing controller heard about this, he was very cross. "Leave him where he is," he said sternly. "We can't get help to him now. There's another storm coming in tonight, and it's a fierce one. So I want you two to stay at Lakeside until tomorrow." The thing controller was right about the storm. It swept across the island with a horrifying blow. Duncan shivered through the night. He was wishing now that he had stayed in the sheds when he was supposed to. Then he would have done his jobs when he should have, and he would be back in a nice warm shed right now. But no, he had made his bed, and now he was going to sleep in it. The next morning, when Rusty and Fred came along with some workmen and a plow, they found Duncan covered from buffer to firebox in snow, and shivering so hard that it looked as if he was going to fall apart. The thing controller was with them too. As he was scolding Duncan, the workmen began to dig him out. Once he was free of the snow, Fred buffered up to him and hauled him back to the yards. As a punishment for his actions the day before, he had to stay at the back of the sheds for a week in his frozen state. All that time, the engines made fun of him by saying he looked like a giant snowball. Duncan couldn't say anything in his defense. He was too cold to answer.